Okay, so you guys are doing logos. Now, when you have a logo, what I was seeing a few people start to do, and I realized part of this was because of our first assignment. Our first assignment was to create a logo. To create a font, to create our own letters. I was noticing that some people were trying to create their own letters. And for the first project, that made sense. But here, when it comes to a logo, maybe not always necessary. So I've created a fake product called Super E, which is an energy drink, okay, just because it was, something that I just came up with that was really stupid and quick, but that's okay. And literally right now I've typed in a font, and there we go. Now you have available to you a whole ton of fonts on the computer because of Adobe CC. I mean, there's just a ton. And you can choose any one of these if you wanted to. That's a little bit bigger, but you get the idea. And what's really cool is, here's what's really awesome. You may be able to find a font that's close to what you want for your design, for your logo, but maybe not exactly what you might want for your logo design. Well, guess what? I have news for you. You can take text and change it into an object that is directly editable in Illustrator. Ooh. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I'm just going to, with the black arrow tool, which is our selection tool, you're going to click on your text and then right-click and say Create Outlines. Now, does it look any different? Not really, because you have but you notice the box changed. But now, if I go in and I click on the text with the white arrow tool, all of a sudden, you can see that we have our points, that we can now alter the shape of our letters in any way that we might want to. Now, before you go and do that, though, you might also notice that when you use the selection tool, the black arrow tool, on your letters, they all come together. And you can move them around together and whatever, but you can't, I can't click on the R. Let's say I wanted to drop the R down. I can't do it. Well, the reason for that is because right now they're in what we call a group. And a group is literally what it sounds like. It's a group of objects that you've placed together. So an easy way to then have access to individual letters, well, there's two. One, you could right-click again and then ungroup the letters, or you can double-click and then you go into the group in what we call isolation mode. And you can see up here, right now it's telling me I'm on layer 1, and then I'm in the group. See, it says group. And now I can click on an individual letter and move it around. Either one of those ways is totally okay. I like double-clicking. As long as you don't forget that you're in isolation mode, you have to click the arrow to get out of that, because it kind of keeps everything together, and then it allows you to edit individual pieces and then get back out of that and still go together. But you can still right-click on something, ungroup it, move something down, and then you can highlight them all again, and then you can just regroup them. Well, okay, you'd have to go up to the menu, Object, and Group. And now they're back to being a group again. So there's a lot of things that you can do with that. It's actually really handy. Okay, so now, if I were to double-click in and go into the isolation mode, now let's say I wanted my P to be a little bit, I wanted to alter it. Let's just go over that really quickly. First, let's say I wanted the outer shape of the letter was pretty good, but I wanted the inner shape to be smaller, okay? Well, that's actually really easy to do. You can just take the white arrow tool, now that you've selected this P, you can take the white arrow tool and I can hold the Shift key down, select all the anchor points that I might want, then go to my transform tool, the free transform tool, and holding the Shift key down and Alt allows it to go from the center, and Shift keeps me from squishing it. So Alt allows it to go in from the center. I can make the center of that different. Now, the next thing I might want to do is this looks a little awkward because the descending vertical line of the P is now too thin. It doesn't match. So I have a couple options. I can try and move these two anchor points over, or if I like a fatter, more balloon type look, then what I can do is go down here and take the direct selection tool, or the white arrow tool, and I can try and move it over. Now, if I look here, there is an anchor point over here. So if I take this, if I click on that anchor point and I move them over, I can move them in line and they snap to the upper one. But then you see there's all this stuff going on here. So the easiest way to do it is actually take the Add Point tool, go here, and then right in line with that, I'm going to add a new point. Boom. So now I've got a new point. I'm not moving any points, I'm not doing anything. And the reason why I don't want to move points is because it will change the nice angle of this curve. So I add a new point directly underneath this, and then in preparation for it, I'm going to take the Convert tool, or the Anchor Point tool, and I'm going to break that handle apart so it's a corner. And notice I made it go in line with this. Then I'm going to take this point over here and I'm going to delete it. So delete Anchor Point tool, zap. So I've zapped that point. Now all I have to do is take the Direct Selection tool and move it all the way over. I'm holding the Shift key down so it stays in line, and bam. Now it's basically in line, and I can just kind of make sure my handle goes straight up and down, and I've created a thicker, bolder letter. And now I can take this and I can scale it up. I can arrange it so I can send it to back. And then you might say, that's great, Weisbro, but you can't see anything. Well, then I can highlight these guys here and without highlighting the P, and I can go here and I can give them, say, a white stroke. So I'll go here, double click, give them a white stroke, and that's going to give them the appearance of a little bit of separation over the letter. You see, like, you can start playing with things really nicely with this, and it's so cool because you have absolute and direct access to the shape of the letters, but you're also not trying to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. You can actually use an existing font to start working within your font and make it, and move things around as if they were objects. Does this make sense to everybody? And I think that a lot of you are going to find this a very, very helpful way of working. But here's the one key. Get your font choose a font that is as close to what you want for your logo as possible. All right? So spend some time searching through the fonts and finding what you need and go from there. Also, beware. Let me just illustrate this. So I'm going to get out of the group here. Some fonts are also a lot more complicated than others. So if I go here and I type Super E again, okay, if I choose a font that is different, that's really complicated, like what's the one I just had, was Papyrus, okay? Let's take the font size down here. Oh, still not enough. Let's just go to, let's just go to 72. Okay, so if I then take this font and I convert it, create outlines, okay, on group, take a look at how complicated these letters are. Okay, that's a lot of anchor points, right? Okay, that's kind of crazy. So you do want to be mindful of the fonts that you choose, that you're not kind of getting yourself into a more difficult situation. And I think as soon as you go change out or create outlines, that if you see something like this, you might want to double think what you're doing, right? Yeah, okay. The other thing that I also highly recommend is when you do this, I just undid my the create outlines. I still got my text. You know what? Alt, drag a copy of your text and take it and push it off the artboard, off the paper, okay? So that you always have a copy of your original. And then that way, if you go really far into the editing and then realize all of a sudden that this is a bad idea, you can just delete it and you haven't lost all that work you did in choosing a good font. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes? All right, well, that's about all I've got. Cool.